whatever it takes to get you to try harder, read more, set your goals, and go for it.
Program as you drive along in traffic, blowing your horn at someone ahead of you who isn't driving at the speed you'd like to. Perhaps you're listening alone because you've had a disagreement with someone you love or someone who loves you, and your anger won't allow you to speak to that person. Wouldn't this be an ideal time to examine your need for a new discipline? Perhaps you're on the brink of giving up or starting over or starting out, and the only missing ingredient to your incredible success story in the future is a new and self-imposed discipline that will make you stay longer and try harder and work more intensely than you ever thought you possibly could. The most valuable form of discipline is the one that you impose on yourself. Don't wait for things to deteriorate so drastically that someone else must impose discipline into your life. Wouldn't that be tragic? How could you possibly explain the fact that someone else thought more of you than you thought of yourself? That they forced you to get up early and get out into the marketplace when you would have been content to let success go to someone else who cared more about themselves? Your life, my life, the life of each one of us is going to serve as either a warning or an example. A warning of the consequences of neglect, self-pity, lack of direction and ambition, or an example of talent put to use, of discipline, self-imposed. Well, you just haven't provided for your old age. Don't worry about a financial planner. You need a personal wisdom consultant. Part of wisdom is knowing what you lack and looking for it and asking for it. Another part of wisdom is knowing, at the same time as you ask, that there are no final answers. There are always more questions. There are always more things and people you don't now know and haven't yet heard of or seen. So you may have that retirement package. You may have the medical benefits, the pension, the Sunbelt home, and a steady income you can live on. What good is it if you're isolated? And I don't mean just physically alone. I mean isolated from a real sense of connection with what's come before and with what lies ahead. It's here that wisdom provides very real, very practical benefits. It's wisdom that provides a sense of life's value and assurance that all the effort has been worthwhile. There's no question that we must take care of our material needs, but a fulfilled life requires meaning as well as substance. Wisdom is the fruit of experience. Experience is something everyone gets if they live long enough, but not everyone knows what to do with it. Wisdom comes from seeing the world and the people in it, and from noticing patterns and connections, and from using what other people let you see of themselves in order to understand your own self. I can hear somebody saying, wait a minute, you've spent a lot of time saying that nobody knows what wisdom is, and now you're giving a detailed description of it. Well, I'm not saying I know what wisdom is. I'm just saying I know where it comes from. I know what it takes to get it. In fact, I've never met a person who actually said, I know what wisdom is. About as close as I'll ever come to say that is to say that I know what the opposite of a wise person is. The opposite of a wise person is a fool. And a fool usually gets treated like a fool, sooner or later.
Well, imagine like last night, I'm going on the stage, right? If my identity says I am a public speaker, and it is important for me to be excellent at this, and then I go on stage and I bomb, what does that say about me as a person? So we've got about 50 years of work in psychology, or the field of psychology, saying do not tie your efforts to your identity, because that risk of disappointment or rejection, if the task fails, you shouldn't take that as a defining moment in which you say, I am a failure, right? So that's the risk, and that's what psychologists tell us to be wary of. Except, it turns out that high performers flip that on its face and go, Well, actually, no, I do get bothered if it fails. I really get upset about it. I am attached to the process here. I do care if it turns out well. I mean, that's why they obsess about the details. That's why they care about excellence. It's like, no one obsesses about the details or cares about excellence unless it means something to them. And there is a risk. The risk is you over-attach to the process or the outcome with your identity, so that if the process or outcome goes bad, now you feel bad about yourself as a human, and now you stop your progress. But I also tell people, there's a balance there. I actually wish more people would attach some identity to what they're doing. They wouldn't go through the motions as much. I mean, I think what the world needs less of is half-interested parents who don't have an identity that says, you know what? I'm gonna be an excellent parent. I think we have a lot of CEOs or business people or entrepreneurs who they've never stepped in and said, you know what? I'm a CEO. I own this business. I am responsible for paying the bills. I am responsible for making the money. I'm responsible for all these people's mortgages who work for me. I want them to own the identity of a CEO. Because most of them, if you ask them about their identity and their business, they're kind of like, you come to find, they're kind of approaching it like, not even hobbyists. It's like, if you want to win, your identity has to be tied into that thing in which you are trying to succeed at and give to. And that takes a lot of guts to put yourself all in for something, but who's ever contributed something with tremendous impact without being all into it? I've never seen it. So I think the message of the book, you're right, I'll get some flack from a lot of psychologists say, don't tell people to tie more of their identity. Or my friends who are Buddhists will say, but attachment is the form of all suffering. Brendan, have you not read your spiritual texts? I'm like, look out, calm down. I've hung out with the Dalai Lama. I'm totally cool. But what I'm trying to tell you is even the Dalai Lama has a connection with himself as a spiritual leader. His identity is still there. That people, assume that, we have to release ourselves from having any attachment to something. But I'm like, I think we all want to be present and engaged fully in the things that we are doing in our lives. And that's going to require us to say psychologically, you know what, I am all in this. That's what I'm about.
And the instinct for meaning seems to be a consequence of the integration of all of those underlying motivations and emotions with social being, and then the manifestation of something like the proper pathway forward. And so you need that because you need to know how to move forward in life, because you need to move forward in life. You need to act in life.
Now, I had been standing, but I needed to be sitting because I couldn't believe that I had been letting myself keep forgetting that I was who I'd been looking for. And deep in my core, I knew it was time to stop looking for more until I could look through all my fear and look into a mirror and see clearly that the man looking back at me is the only one who can make me happy, and I am already enough.
All the things that you hope nobody notices about you, all the weaknesses in your game and your skill set that you think are so wonderfully hidden, everyone knows all of them. Like, you're only protecting yourself from the truth. Everybody else is already thinking it. But becoming anti-fragile, it is the single most important thing you can do to supercharge your life and get where you want to go.
What we do in life is we've all gone through suffering. We've all gone through hard times, and we've made it. But when you're in the midst of suffering, what our mind does is this. You think about the now, and there's no strength in it.
Because that's what it means to wake up every single day to advance a cause. It means that we devote our lives to building that which has not been built.